This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me today in the studio are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar. We also have the TSO's marketing manager, Allie Dresser, and also working in the marketing department, a Toledo Symphony Lab newbie, that is Natalie Conklin. They are all here in the studio, but on the phone we have a very special guest, and I have a fanfare for you. It's kind of like Roman chariots, right?
It is. Thank you so much.
It's not over yet. Hang on.
Okay. Wow.
Our special guest is singer Joan Ellison, who is on the phone with us. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you so much.
Very glad to have you. I almost said Judy because Joan and Judy, they both start with that J sound. But you are coming to the Peristyle with the Toledo Symphony Saturday night. It's happening at 8 o'clock p.m. You are doing a show about Judy Garland. The show is called A Date with Judy Garland. You're going to be singing a hit parade of all those Judy Garland songs. People can find information about this online at toledosymphony.com or the box office number 419-246-8000. So, Joan, are you excited to come on out to Toledo and perform with the Toledo Symphony?
Yes, I'm tremendously excited. I got to sing with the Toledo Symphony on a run-out in 2019, and they are fabulous, and I can't wait to come back.
Joan, I'd just be curious, in all of the fanfares that you've ever been presented with in your wonderful career, how does the one that Brad put together for you today stack up?
It's definitely the most epic.
Yeah. Well, it's entrance music, right? So I don't know how you would picture yourself, but I picture you as coming in like on a, what do they call that? Like the guy's carrying.
Are you thinking a sedan chair?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And your royal sedan coming out with being feathered and, fed olives and grapes and all that stuff.
You've really put some thought into this.
We'll see if the tech people can arrange that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if they can do that for us. No, evidently. I'm going to pull out my soundboard.
So much for that
here.
idea. I'm just happy that you got buzzed before I did, Joan, because that I think is a record. First time you've ever buzzed the guest. Good job.
Well, okay, Joan. Now we're going to talk about Judy Garland and this concert that's coming up. But first, we're going to do something else. It's called Joan's Story. I want you to tell us, kind of go back to the beginning and tell us how you got interested in music and how you ended up where you are now. You've got 2.5 minutes of music to do it in. Otherwise you'll be done. So
a little bit shorter than the fanfare.
Yeah. Now you have your choice of music. Let me pull up music for you.
Okay. It better be fairly quiet because I won't be able to think about what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll turn it down.
All right.
Here's your other option.
Okay.
That gets my vote.
You like that one, Zach?
I like that one.
Yeah, the other one's a little scary.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a tornado almost.
Okay, you actually have 3 minutes on this one, so knock yourself out. Go for it.
All right. Okay. So Judy Garland was my first vocal influence. My parents got me the Wizard of Oz album. It was vinyl. When I was 2, and Over the Rainbow was just, I fell in love with that. I fell in love with Judy's voice. And let's see, so I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I think you said you wanted me to start at the beginning. I grew up in Des Moines. I started piano study at 4, played all the way through. What else? I fell in love with musicals. My parents got me a Time Life series of classic musicals on tape that I adored. I was in love with Julie Andrews as well. I went to Oberlin Conservatory and studied classical voice, which was an interesting detour. And then basically immediately came back to my first love, which was classic American popular song and musicals, and did that for a while. Met my husband doing a show. We started performing our own concerts of American popular song. which I transcribed all the piano parts for off original recordings, and then had somebody else play them, although when we started I was playing and singing, and hauling the sound equipment in 3-inch heels. And let's see, what else?
Yeah, you still got over a minute to go, so.
I got for a minute. Oh my goodness. Let's see. So, well, I'm out of things. Started singing with orchestras in, I think, 2005 with the Cleveland Pops. And then got a Judy Garland orchestra thing going, and suddenly, I guess it was on my path because through Michael Feinstein, I started restoring all of Judy Garland's original orchestral arrangements. So that has been a really interesting journey of the last 5 or 6 years, I think. And then got to restore the original Over the Rainbow when Michael found that. So that was really coming full circle. Okay, does that end it?
We'll let it go at that point. You still had a few seconds left, but you answered all of my questions, so I guess we'll see you all next week, right?
I'll go have breakfast.
I would love to know more about these restoration projects and what that all entails. So are you...
Oh, good, because I love talking about that.
Well, I didn't know, because you started with the Carnegie Hall concert, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
now you've taken on the Oz project?
Well, okay, so the impetus for starting the restorations was that Michael had this project where he wanted to restore all the original orchestrations that Judy sang in her 1961 Carnegie Hall concert. We did that, but then, I was also just restoring other things. I mean, there's a lot of arrangements that were in Judy's files in storage. And so I started restoring other things, and then he actually found. I've written a blog post about this if you want the details, but he actually found the original lost for 80 years parts, all the orchestral parts of Over the Rainbow in David Rose's files when his daughter was moving out of her office. I believe it was in L.A.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was so heavily scored that it wasn't clear that was actually the arrangement. So until we could get the parts and really compare it with the recording very carefully, then it was apparent that there was a whole lot going on there, but they only had 2 mics in the room. So it's just sort of like the parts came out of the ether, So it was a very moving experience for me to be able to go back to that and to be entrusted with that. So
and you're listening to a 1939 recording to compare to, as you said, with just 2 microphones.
Actually,
38,
yeah.
of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's amazing that you can take something that was that lushly orchestrated and kind of peel back the layers of time.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. The string parts were quite amazing, actually. How much going on there was, but they were all just playing, pianissimo, but on one faster take, you can hear more of it that was cut, a take they didn't use, and then it was like, oh yeah, they're playing the whole time because you never know what was cut on the stand as they were doing the session. So you really do have to compare all these things with the recordings.
Wow. Sounds like a lot of work, and you've gone way and above what a normal singer would do,
It's a lot, but I feel like it's a calling. It's a labor of love, and we're making these her arrangements available for people to use again. So it's definitely a mission, I guess, to restore them.
Well, now I want to talk about connections a little bit. Natalie, your eyes lit up when Joan mentioned, I almost said Judy again, when Joan mentioned Oberlin, right? Did you go to Oberlin as well?
It's my hometown.
Oh, that's your hometown?
Oh, really? Oh, my gosh.
It's my
home.
Yep.
That's great. So you're connected in that way, but I have connections with you, Joan, in that, you told us you lived in Des Moines. I went to, and you'll know this right away, I went to Simpson College. You know where that is?
Yes.
In Indianola, Iowa.
I know it pretty well.
Yeah. So I graduated Simpson in the early 80s. And,
oh, my goodness.
And I sang quite a bit with the Des Moines Metro Opera, and you worked with them as well, yeah?
Yes, I did. Oh, my goodness.
Well, and I think you said somewhere that you sang opposite the great soprano Lauren Flanagan early in your career there at Des Moines Metro Opera. And my debut with them was with her singing Of Mice and Men.
Really?
I did that show there, yeah.
What, do you remember what year that was?
That would have been 1980-something, I think, yeah. I'd have to go back.
I was there in 87, maybe?
Yeah. I was there before you, a little bit before you.
You paved the way.
Yes, I paved the way. I did my Judy Garland impression. Somewhere over the rainbow. What do you think?
Indistinguishable.
Well, now, I don't know if you've listened to Joan or watched any of her videos, but she bears a passing resemblance to Judy Garland, but her voice also sounds very much like Judy. I know I'm talking about you like you're not here, Joan, but
okay, I won't listen.
It's meant as a compliment. But is that something that you purposely do to evoke the spirit of Judy Garland in this performance?
Yeah, it's a complicated balancing act because I'm absolutely not wanting to impersonate her. But I'm so immersed in her singing, and it was my first vocal influence, that there are a lot of similarities. And I guess what I'm trying to do is get inside what she's doing in her body to produce the sound, but produce it with my own instrument. And then when I'm performing live, I'm trying to just inhabit the songs, and what you see is what comes out that day. So, which was very much her approach as well. So I guess I'm trying to go back to the roots of her approach, and of course, stylistically, I am trying to pay tribute to her.
I have a quiz now, and you've told us that you're singing, Judy's signature song, the Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that puts me in mind, of course, of The Wizard of Oz, that great film from the 1930s, starring 16-year-old Judy back in the day. Lots of trivia about The Wizard of Oz, so I've come up with a 10-question quiz. Normally we do a quiz during the course of this podcast, just so.
Okay.
And it's multiple choice, so you guys should, have a pretty good chance of getting this. Now, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to ask you a few questions without giving you the answers, and then go back and I'll read off the answers and we'll see who got it right. Okay. Let me get some music here for it. This is a Harry Potter ripoff. Right.
I like it.
It is about the Wizard of Oz, though. Get it? Yeah. It's the best thing I could do.
This one has a lightning bolt. The other one has a tornado. I get it.
Yeah, something like that. I hit my rim shot too early for that joke. Sorry.
I'm accustomed to it by now.
Okay. All right, here we go. What color were Dorothy's slippers in the original book? Were they red, were they white, or were they silver? Question number 2. Which of these was not a role that Frank Morgan played in the film? Was it A, Professor Marvel, B, the gatekeeper, C, the guard, D, the carriage driver, E, all of the above, or F, none of the above? I know that's complicated, but the answer is simple. Third question. What did the effects people use to simulate sparks flying from Dorothy's ruby slippers when the witch tries to remove them? Did they use A, fire, B, juice, or C, animation? And finally, for this part of the quiz, who was originally considered to play Dorothy in the film? Was it Shirley Temple, was it Deanna Durbin, or was it Mickey Rooney? Okay.
That's just mean.
Yeah. It sounded good when I wrote it. All right. So let's go back and run over these and see what answers you came up with. Okay. What color were Dorothy's slippers in the original book? Joan, do you know? Say
Silver.
Again? Silver, yes. Whoops, wrong button. Here we go. Sorry about that. I've been known to hit the wrong button from time to time.
Usually when I get one right.
So we'll give that to Joan. We're letting Joan answer these first, okay?
Well, I'm no Oz expert, so not like my friend John Fricke, but I will do my level best.
Okay.
So far, so great.
The second question is more difficult. Which of these was not a role that Frank Morgan played in the film? In other words, which one of these roles did he not play? Professor Marvel, the gatekeeper, the guard, the carriage driver. Did he not play all of the above, or did he not play none of the above? Meaning he played all of them.
All of them.
Yes, he played all of them. So the answer is none. He played them all, plus the wizard.
There's a double negative in there somewhere.
Right,
Yeah.
there was. That was like,
Yeah, well, this is an educational show, so,
okay.
right? What did the effects people use to simulate sparks flying from Dorothy's ruby slippers when the witch tries to remove them? Was it fire, was it juice, or was it animation? What do you say, Joan?
Oh, goodness. I'm going to just guess juice because it's the weirdest.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Because it's what?
The weirdest.
Yeah, the weirdest choice. They used apple juice. Yeah, there are a lot of interesting techniques they use for the special effects in the film, which are really quite good for 1939. I mean, the tornado, coming to get them and all that stuff. Really amazing. The writing, remember the writing in the sky?
Oh, yeah.
The witch on her broom.
Dorothy, right.
Yeah. Okay, we still have one more left here. Who was originally considered to play Dorothy in the film? Was it Shirley Temple, was it Deanna Durbin, or was it Mickey Rooney? Let me get our music back. We lost that. There we go.
Well, I know it was Shirley Temple, but I think they also briefly considered Deanna Durbin. So
that was like the perfect answer, and I was trying to figure out how I would say that actually two of them were considered. But when
Because you knew that it was not Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, well, we know it's not Mickey Rooney. At least we don't think so.
I would love to ask our two guests in the studio if they know who Mickey Rooney is.
No?
Yeah, I would like to know the answer.
It sounds familiar.
Oh, no!
Mickey Rooney, the actor?
Oh, you have wonderful movies ahead of you.
I've had the same conversation with Allie about a number of fine actors.
A few.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you have a treasure trove ahead of you. So
Yeah, Mickey Rooney made a lot of films with Judy Garland when they were young,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was the association there.
Yes.
But since you don't know who Mickey Rooney is, that could be a girl, right? That could be the original Dorothy was Mickey Rooney. Be sure you tell your parents that, see what they say.
I sure will.
Okay. Excellent. So let's talk about the other repertoire on this concert. I mentioned it's kind of a hit parade of Judy Garland songs, but say if somebody has never been to a performance of yours before, can you set it up for us?
Well, yes. So this is kind of a survey, like a "This Is Your Life" of her music. "Over the Rainbow" is, I think, one of the earliest. But there's definitely some of her early material on there. There's a very fun song called "A Pretty Girl Milking Her Cow" that's from an original Decca radio recording she did in the 30s, or early 40s, I think. Maybe 1942. And "Trolley Song" from the movie, which is a stunning arrangement. And then, going all the way through songs that were on her Carnegie Hall concert and even her television show. There's a recently unearthed out of the files version of "The Boy Next Door," which is not the one she sang in "Meet Me in St. Louis." It's the one she did on her television show in 1963, and it's just a gorgeous arrangement and quite different, really, from the original. So that's kind of a rarity.
Yeah. Did you have to dig up then? I know we've talked about the orchestrations, but it sounds like these came from lots of different sources. Were they all in one place?
Well, many of them were in one place where Judy originally stored her arrangements. And now I don't know exactly where they are. I think they're all in one place. But some of these Judy didn't have, and so they came from collectors, from John Fricke, who is the Garland and Oz expert, has a huge collection. There's other collectors that provided bits and pieces of things, sometimes just a part. that was missing. So I didn't have to transcribe it, although I often did. But so these are another highlight is we have That's Entertainment on there, and that's an arrangement by Conrad Salinger that she did on her 1960 album. But he was really the star arranger at MGM, and he did the Trolley Song and a lot of her early films, and all of his arrangements were basically all of his manuscripts were lost in a house fire. And also, of course, MGM threw out all of their musical parts in around 1969, and they're buried under a freeway, basically. So it's very hard to get your hands on any original Conrad Salinger arrangements, and so that's a really spectacular one.
Speaking of buried underneath the freeway, Toto the dog is buried underneath the freeway, evidently.
Really?
I just thought of that actually because it's on my quiz. So I'm going to throw out one quiz question just for fun. What was Toto the dog's real name? Was it Timmy? Was it Terry? Or was it Toto? A, B, or C?
You want me to answer?
Well, you know the answer?
Yes.
Okay. Well, somebody else. What do you think? These girls are looking at me like, I don't know who Toto is. You know who Judy Garland is,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like Terry would be kind of a bad name for a dog.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Joan, what was Toto's real name?
Terry the Karen.
No.
Now that
Terry.
you mentioned Toto, the whole movie would have been very short if she just kept her dog on a leash.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Okay, very nice. Speaking of Toto, who was
Thanks.
paid more? Who was paid more, the Munchkins or Toto?
Toto.
Toto, yeah. Totally Toto.
I don't think Toto is buried under a freeway because there's a famous gravestone in the Hollywood.
Right. Well, they moved the original burial was where they put the LA freeway through, and they had to move the grave.
Really?
So what you're talking about is where Toto is now. Either that or I've got him mixed up with somebody else.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa, exactly. Exactly. I have him mixed up with Jimmy Hoffa. Toto Hoffa, or Terry Hoffa, excuse me. Yes, Terry Hoffa. Anyway, Toto made $125 a week, while the Munchkins made $50 a week. Right?
Oh.
Judy got $500 a week. And the men in the show got upwards of $3,000 a week. So you want to talk
Wow.
about
That was huge money.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
huge money. Considering Toto was paid
That
what
was
would
a
be
lot.
$2,000 a week today.
Wow.
Imagine what that amount would be in today's dollars. I haven't done the math, so we'll save that for another time.
Okay.
So I appreciate your love of history. We've talked about the restoration projects. We've talked about how much it matters to you to recreate some of these things that were lost. One of my favorite things about your recordings is that you sing the entire introductions of every song, and not everybody does that.
Oh.
What does this mean to you, and why does it matter?
Singing the introductions in particular, or well, they set up the song, so it gives you a whole dramatic framework for the song, and it's like a little play.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I also just like to do them because they're often just beautiful, and that they don't get done.
Yeah.
Particularly the verse of Over the Rainbow, which actually I don't do in this concert, but I do when I perform solo. It's a particularly beautiful verse, and I think it needs to be heard.
Yeah, that's the part that's like da 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 da, something like that. Yeah,
That's it.
Just
Hey.
like that.
They were all looking at me in the studio like I have no idea what you're doing right now.
Well, I mean, the words are so appropriate, especially right now. When all the world is a hopeless jumble, and the raindrops tumble all around. Heaven opens a magic lane. So it's a beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. I figured if I sang enough, you would break into song at one point.
Brad, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I do like Joan's version better.
Yeah. Well, she knows the words for one thing. So that makes a difference right there.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
It helps to know the words. It really does.
There's one of the songs on your Gershwin album. I think it might be, but
thank
not
you for
me.
listening to that.
Oh, it's a great album. It might be, but not for me. But don't quote
That's
me on
how
that.
I feel about this show. You know, somebody says to me, "Oh, I've heard your podcast." I say, "Well, thank you for listening."
I think we're up to 7 people.
Yeah.
But I think the intro's an entire minute. And I love that because you think about in the old days when how many songs can we cram into a record, and you know the cost per centimeter was so vast. You know, this is right over there.
Yeah. I just was trying to figure out your usage of the word centimeter in that sentence. It just cracked me up.
Well, it's about
Sorry.
You think about the track on an album, right?
Yeah.
They're about a centimeter apart.
Yeah. Okay.
Truly.
All right. Then never mind. Just
Might
keep going.
have to explain that though to the other people in the.
Oh yeah,
in the-
yeah.
Pay no attention to that man behind the mic. Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, I very much appreciate that. You mentioned Michael Feinstein earlier. He does the same thing. I appreciate that historical approach too.
Well, he's been very much a mentor and friend for quite a while now, and so I'm sure I picked up some of that emphasis from him. Hopefully, so
this is what happens when a couple kids from the Midwest fall in love with the American Songbook and go make
there
great
you
music.
go. Yeah.
So now, do you have a favorite among this songbook, the Judy Garland songbook? I mean, besides the Rainbow song. I mean, that's everybody's go-to song. But
you know, it's not called the Rainbow song.
Yeah,
it's the trolley song that you're thinking of.
I was thinking of Kermit the Frog, actually, with Rainbow Connection, right? You're not doing a Kermit the Frog tribute, are you?
No, but I love the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
And, you know, had great people on that show.
Well, that can be your next project. I want 15% right here. 15%.
Recreate the original orchestrations from the Muppet Show.
Yes, absolutely. You heard it here first. Coming to Toledo in 2023.
All right, I'll get busy.
Kermit the Frog, right?
It's like the Ohio State University.
Exactly. Yeah. So getting back to my original question.
Oh, there was a question.
Joan, yeah. I mean, aside from the Rainbow song, which is what started this whole thing, aside from that song, you know, which songs really speak to you? Which are your favorites? You know, when you start to sing them, then we pay extra attention. Which ones are those?
I adore this arrangement of Stormy Weather. It's really beautiful. It's by Norrie Paramore. And The Man That Got Away is a favorite. And that's a Skip Martin arrangement. It's just a wonderful song, written for her, of course. The Trolley song is, to me, it's just, it's pure, I mean, I hope I'm not spoiling things, but we open the show with it, and it's just, you just hop on the trolley and you're there. I mean, to me, that's just, it's time travel. It's, you know, when you do these older arrangements that you've been hearing for so many years, and then you're, you know, on stage with an orchestra playing them and the sound is all around you, it really transports me, and I hope the audience. It's sort of like the past and the present coexisting all at once, you know, and it's, and I always loved time travel. So that definitely hopping on the trolley is no matter how I am feeling when I hear that music, I'm ready to go. So
instead of a sedan, you can come in on a trolley, right?
On a trolley.
Like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You remember the trolley we would go through? Yeah. You get a little PBS connection there.
So
nice.
Can I ask a follow-on question to that? Because one of the funny things about the American Songbook is that they have these ridiculous lyrics sometimes, stuff that maybe didn't age as well, or they're trying to work for a rhyme that might not necessarily work. Are there any points in any of the songs that you sing, either on this show or elsewhere, when you get to it and you can't help but grin at how old-timey it is?
I have that feeling every time you look at me, Zach.
No,
I meant you looking at me, right? Did I make that clear? I don't think so. Yeah.
I have so many questions about that, but let's get back to Joan.
What was the question?
Some of these lyrics are just so silly.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
cringy lyrics or I'm not sure there are any in this show now that because I think I would know. And none come to mind in this particular show, but of course there's lots of songs that have that, and it's clearly they either that was the dummy lyric and they kept it because they ran out of time, or
have you ever changed a lyric
that's a good question,
for performance?
Not on purpose.
Good answer. I like that.
There's a lot of lyrics in the show, but not on purpose.
Okay, right. I want to involve Allie and especially Natalie here a little bit more because they've been sitting here so patiently and quietly.
I'm learning so much.
Well, yeah. Now, you guys know about Judy Garland, right? You know who she was, singer, actress, all of the above. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz, that film with her?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah? You've seen it? Did you see it on TV or did you see like the full unabridged version?
I feel like VHS way back when.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it on TV with numerous commercial breaks.
And they edit it down, too, as well that
I don't
way.
think it's a full version. No.
But you saw Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, they originally were going to cut that song because they didn't like the idea of Judy Garland singing in a pig sty or wherever it was out on the farm.
Right.
And they thought it didn't do anything for the action of the film, and then they kept it in. It turned out being like, you know, the
number one song of the 20th century.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, you know, we're picking up bits of trivia here, but let's hear a little bit about you, Natalie. And Joan, I hope you'll, I'll tie this in here. I'm going to use that other music because this is a ripoff of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's called
Tornado-like.
Yeah. Can you sing this version, Joan?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. It's called Over a Rainbow. So yeah, it's a ripoff again. So Natalie, let's hear a little bit of your story. We're all interested to hear about you.
And about me. So I am from Oberlin, Ohio. It's a beautiful little town. Joan has been there.
Yeah.
Most known for obviously music and science. I went to school at Bowling Green State University, and I studied with Professor David Saltzman on euphonium. And now I am working with TSO, and in my free time, I listen to a lot of Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. And
that's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks.
Stevie
one of the
Nicks
great
is
singers.
to me as Judy is to Joan.
Wow, You're getting teared up here.
I love her.
You're getting all choked up.
Her.
Yeah.
It's actually, this has been really great for me to hear you talk about this because I also feel that inspiration with another artist. So I like to hear that you don't just go up there and try to reenact her. It's really about the music for you, which is what it goes back to. So thank you for this. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Oh, that's very interesting.
It's interesting that you play the euphonium. Right? For people who don't know what that is, it's like a baby tuba?
It is. I call it a baby tuba with a much warmer tone than a trombone, but very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's a beautiful instrument.
When you play it, it's a mephonia, not a euphonia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I worked on that.
Yep.
No, actually, I just thought of that, and I'll never think of it again.
Good. I usually get a what? A what? A what phonia? What?
Yeah, well...
I have an iPhonium 12.
I knew you had something brewing there, Zach.
Too silent.
Totally.
Too long.
Well, I'm going to give you a little cheer there, Natalie. Allie, what are your thoughts about Joan coming to Toledo and presenting this music?
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled. I saw The Wizard of Oz. I grew up knowing who Judy Garland was, but through this whole experience working with you, Joan, I've learned so much.
Hang on, let me pull on some music for you. Okay.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I most recently watched, there's a new movie out about a Judy Garland. It's not documentary style, but it's replicates her life, and I just was so fascinated and had no idea.
Was that the one with Renee Zellweger?
Yeah,
just Judy.
I thought it was
It was really well done.
Spectacular. So I learned a lot through the movie, and just I'm so excited for the show.
Yeah. Joan, did you see that movie?
I did not.
Yeah,
That's a period of her life I really have trouble visiting because I feel protective of her, I guess, in a weird way. Although I'm thrilled to hear that it made you want to learn more about the real Judy Garland, because I mean, that's what, any of us who do her material really hope. I think that it'll inspire you to go watch her movies, so, or put on an album. Her Capitol Records albums are fantastic. And so that is wonderful.
Well, you also, you are a protector of her legacy, but also you're helping to kind of author it a little bit now by carrying the torch of that period in her life when she was, the iconic singer and had such a big influence on American culture, which still resonates today. And I think that it's wonderful what you're doing for this music.
And I would encourage you to watch it at some point. I know that you know more about Judy than 99% of the rest of the world, but you would probably look at it cringing at certain points. I think it does talk about a lot of the obvious damage, but it flashes back to her younger years and the way she was treated by the studios. It does flash into the relationship that she had with Mickey Rooney. And, there is a sense of being at the right time, at the right place, and the many ways that her career blossomed because of that. And, at the end, there were definitely points when there's still miracles that she could dig deep and pull out. I think that was a really neat part of the movie, is that you could tell one night she might be having a tough night, but then she would find it. And the spark in her eye and the experience she would have and that everybody else would have too.
It was quite emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you hear like bootleg recordings of her Talk of the Town run at the end. And I mean, there's a Man That Got Away recording that's absolutely spectacular. I mean, it's really the old magic, even then when her health was so bad. So yeah, I mean, it might be faded glory, but it's definitely glory,
right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely. Zach, how did this get on your radar as far as the show and bringing Joan
you
here?
sent me an email to come to the studio. Certainly not. Well, I mean...
See, Zach is racking up the buzzes.
Yeah.
Usually happens. Well, of course, we've worked with Carl Topolo for many years, and he cares a lot about you, Joan. He
gave me my start with this orchestra thing. So
he's been a big advocate of yours, and thinking about the fact that we were coming into the Garland Centennial, we wanted to include a program to pay homage to her in our pop season this year, and obviously yours was the first one that we came to. So. And just a tip of the hat to you, Joan. I sent you in an email that I first heard your voice on XM radio and Jonathan Schwartz's old show.
I used to work for Jonathan Schwartz.
Is that right?
Really?
I used to board up his radio show at WMIC in New York when I first started out. Not when he first started out.
Right, I might have a couple of years on you.
Yeah.
But was that the Sunday show?
It was a Sunday show, yeah. I was the one pushing all the buttons, and I didn't make a mistake as far as I know. The other guy who was also doing the same job as me on different nights made a mistake and got fired. So
were you channeling him when you were trying to play the fanfare earlier?
I just had to listen to it all, yeah. It's all in the timing, right?
Well, it is. But I remember how he was speaking about the American Songbook, and he had played at that time. I think it was from your Gershwin album, and he just was very impressed. And I think he played out the show with your tune, and that was just one of those moments I wrote down.
That is so nice. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we should say just a little bit more about Carl Topolo, because he's a wonderful conductor who. He conducts the Cleveland Pops, right? Mm-hmm. And he has also conducted the Fireland Symphony, which is out in Sandusky. Yep. Wonderful clarinetist as well. Joan, you want to tell us a little bit about Carl's work?
Yeah, I love working with Carl, and it's a long time working relationship. The first. I'll just tell you a little story. But he saw me.
Hang on, I got some music for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
he saw me in Carousel and took a chance on me and asked me to sing opposite William Michaels, who was a big Broadway star at Severance Hall on one of their concerts, and with the Cleveland Pops. And I hear from people all over the U.S. Who have been, given these kind of chances by Carl, because he's, such a wonderful educator as well. He was at CIM for so long as their, I don't know what his official title was, but the conductor, orchestra director. And, he's been just a mentor and advocate for so many young people. That really, to me, stands out about him. That really makes him unique.
Wonderful.
I would add to that I've never met somebody who has a more rainbow collection, going back to rainbows, of clarinets.
Clarinet,
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
He has that red clarinet that he's known for playing.
Right. I think he has
Blue,
in
too.
every color, I would imagine.
Yeah, so
maybe even polka
I've definitely
dots.
seen red, blue, and green.
That's right.
But
so you should do like a little clarinet obligato for Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and he can pull out different colored clarinets, kind of like the horse of a different color thing,
First red, then
Yeah.
orange, then yellow.
I'm going to map out the whole revision of this concert for
Yeah.
you, Joan. You
Are
come
you
in.
going to revise the restoration
Yeah,
just for this
exactly.
punchline?
Exactly. Just for the punchline.
I know
That's
how
what
you
we
feel.
do here. All right? Okay.
this show's going to have a very high production level. You're going to have people's expectations way up.
And we have to use my fanfare for your entrance, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let me do a couple more questions on the quiz because
Oh, is the quiz still alive? I thought
yeah,
we
the
did
quiz
that.
is still going.
Right.
The quiz never ends. All right. Speaking of the horses of a different color, what colored them? What did they use to make the colors? Was it body paint? Was it Jello? Or was it lighting?
Wait, they colored the horses?
Yeah, they colored the horses.
Oh, in the
Yeah, in the movie,
Yep.
The
Oh,
Wizard
thanks.
of
Yeah.
Oz. We're back to The Wizard of Oz. Okay. During the song, If I Only Had a Heart, there's a cameo vocal. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? From the voice behind a famous cartoon character. Who was the cartoon character? Was it Sleeping Beauty? Was it Cinderella? Or was it Snow White? Okay. And the last one is... What was really in the Tin Man squirt can? Was it chocolate syrup? Was it colored water? Or was it oil? Okay, so those three questions right there. Let's go back to the first one. The horses of a different color. They were colored by body paint, by Jello, or by lighting. Do you have an idea there, Joan?
Well, I have to guess Jello because everything was about Jello in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. Jello powder actually, and they had to they put it on and had to film right away because the horses would always lick it off wherever they could reach.
Good thing the flying monkeys weren't nearby.
Exactly. Okay, question number 2. During the song If I Only Had a Heart, the cameo vocal Wherefore Art Thou, Romeo, comes from a famous cartoon character. Was it the voice behind Sleeping Beauty, behind Cinderella, or behind Snow White? What do you say, Joan?
It was definitely Snow White, and I think her name was Adriana Castellotti, maybe something like that. Yes.
Adriana Castellotti, yeah. She
Is that
sang.
it? Yes.
You just had that ready to go, didn't you, Brad?
I did. I have it all written right here. I don't know anything. I have everything written down.
Such a distinctive voice, though. Even if you go back and watch
is.
Snow White now, it's the voices are just not like that anymore,
Yeah.
with the
No,
exception of
it's
Joan
really
Ellison.
distinct.
You girls know who Snow White is, right? Okay. You've heard of her. Have you seen that? Have you seen that original Disney film? That was their first one. Yeah, the evil witch and her apple. Okay, what was really in the Tin Man squirt can? Chocolate syrup, colored water, or oil? What do you say, Joan?
Oh, well, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to guess chocolate syrup.
Good guess.
Oh.
Yeah, it was chocolate syrup because they had to spray it on his face and, near his mouth. And
Oh, yeah.
unlike the horses, he did not lick it off.
Didn't he have some
No.
skin reaction to the
Yeah.
tin paint or something like
Well,
that?
Buddy Epson
Yeah.
was originally going
Yeah.
to be the Tin Man. He had to drop out because he had an allergic reaction to the paint,
That's amazing.
which they changed for Jack Haley Jr., but they,
Right.
yeah, I got him mixed up, sorry.
That's right.
Because Jack Haley Jr. married Liza Minnelli, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, did you just say that they changed the quality of the paint because he was going to go on and marry Liza? That doesn't sound like a sentence that you meant to say.
Yes. Well, follow what I mean, not what I say. Okay?
She was 16 years old. There's no way.
Judy Garland was 16 when she made Wizard of Oz.
So chocolate sauce was also the blood in Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
The shower
chocolate
scene.
sauce is basically, a substitute for anything in black and white films and in early color films. Right. So keep that in mind. A tip that you learned right here on Toledo Symphony Lab.
Noted.
Thank you.
Blood or oil, you can use chocolate syrup. And I expect to see plenty of chocolate syrup during your show. Joan.
Absolutely. Get right on it.
We do want Joan to come and do the show.
I don't really want anywhere near my gowns, actually.
Yeah, you don't want to get your gowns messed
No
up
way.
there. Yeah, nice. How many costume changes are you doing during this concert?
I think 3.
Okay, well, that's not bad. That's not too bad. To sort of represent the different periods of her life, I imagine. Just say yes.
Colors, I think. Okay, I'll say yeah. Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yes. They progress a bit. Yes, they do in style.
Okay.
So I have a farewell question for you. I don't know if we're done, but this is my last question for you, Joan. Is that I know that you would say Judy Garland sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow better than anyone else, but who's the runner-up? What's the version you go to and say, oh, but this one is so special?
It's a tough one.
How about this one?
I haven't. I don't know if I can answer that. It's a really interesting question. I've heard a lot of versions. I can't answer that.
Who's the one you never want to hear again?
Well,
Taking a different tack.
I definitely will not answer that on the air.
Okay. Oh, here, let me turn off the radio. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Not going to say.
Right. Mozart thought it was funny.
My mother always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say it.
Yeah. That
Sounds like a good Grand Rapids, Iowa, Oberlin idea.
That's the Iowa nice answer, right?
Iowa nice.
Iowa nice, not Iowa stubborn. Those are different things.
Yeah. Des Moines is a great city, by the way. You can have
yes.
a little shout out to Des Moines.
Yes, shout out to Des Moines, absolutely.
Yeah. So Joan Ellison is coming to Toledo at the Peristyle in the Toledo Museum of Art with the Toledo Symphony. It's Saturday night at 8 o'clock p.m. You can find more information on the TSO's website, toledosymphony.com, or the box office number is 419-246-8000. So Joan Ellison, thank you so much for joining us here on Toledo Symphony Lab, and we look forward to having you with the Toledo Symphony.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website, toledosymphony.com, and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Zach Vassar, Allie Dresser, Natalie Conklin, and our special phone guest, Joan Ellison. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.